Hey guys, date night. So pumped. On our way to Marriage Matters. C5 family checking in. Hope you're having a great night.
Date nights matter, by the way. Even though we have 3 kids under 3, it is so important to do a date night at least once a week.
100%. And just for date night never happens unless we plan it. So
True.
there's no way it's going to just like come up like, oh my gosh, we have nothing to do tonight. Let's have a date night. It's always planned. We talk about it. It makes her feel cared for, makes her feel loved, makes her feel prioritized. Makes me feel prioritized. Sometimes I'll plan something, sometimes Charity will plan something. I think it's up to both people to take that role at times for sure. And I love doing it. I look forward to it every time.
And I'm grateful.
Marriage Matters is a once a month get together where the Mariners Church up in Irvine invites different speakers to talk about why marriage matters and handle the different topics that marriages go through.
There's dinner, games, food, fun. It's awesome.
Man, here I am in the car. We're on our way to Marriage Matters, and I'm like, you know what? This is a good time to have like conversation. We should connect. And I lean over and I go, Charity, how are you? And she answers like she always does.
Good. How are you?
I don't know if you relate to that, but that's not what I was looking for. In-depth conversation.
It's so important on date night that because you've set aside time, that you're intentional with your conversation. You could be intentional with your time spent with one another, but it's important to be intentional with your conversations as well, because we normally have 3 kids under 3 who are screaming, wanting our attention. So now I am reminded, like, oh yeah, I can actually have a deep conversation with you right now. And it's so important to have questions, even so then you're not just sitting there and talking about the same old. If for date nights, we want to talk about like deep, meaningful, purposeful things, like what's going on in your heart this week? What have you learned this week? What is God teaching you? What's a cool thing that stuck out to you? What are you learning? What are you loving right now? What's getting you excited? What's making you really tired?
Write those down. You hear that? Write down those questions. Those are awesome.
Yeah. And it's so important to ask, because that's how you're going to connect on a date night, not just on Instagram and on your phones. Hey guys, Marriage Matters was awesome. The speaker was
so
Doug
cool.
Fields. He's amazing. They did an awesome setup. You were sitting in tables and like we played games, and it was really, really fun. We had an awesome time. We got to sit next to really fun couples. We got to sit next to George and Tondra Gregory, and we also got to sit next to an awesome couple named Randall and Natalie, and we got to talk to them about vlogging. They have their own vlog, which is so cool. So we got
Busy
to sit there.
Bergmans.
Busy Bergmans.
Check it out.
Which was really fun. And it was just an awesome night, and we feel super blessed and super filled up with what we learned, and we just kind of wanted to share some of it with you guys.
Tonight was, honestly, it was a big night for me for sure. Tonight was all about conflict. It was, and what Doug started saying right off the bat was that conflict is inevitable, but misery is optional. Meaning there's ways to work through conflict. The steps were to name it, so understand what the conflict is, then to delay it, so you're not acting on the emotion of anger, all that kind of stuff. Study it to understand what you're feeling and why you're feeling that way. Address it and ask for help. And it's amazing because a lot of people do right away get into criticize and condemn, and then it just is this never-ending cycle. And for me, what I learned about tonight was understanding there's always a deeper feeling. You know, just be transparent here. A couple of things that really bother me in our relationship is how much Charity can be on her phone. It's very easy for me to like, you're always on your phone. Put your phone away. What are you doing? What are you doing now? Are you on your phone again? Maybe that happens in your relationship. Maybe it doesn't. Not a big deal. But realizing that the problem is not the phone, right? The problem is maybe my desire of feeling wanted. And when she's on a phone, I feel like I'm not wanted, like I'm unimportant. And realizing the underlying thing of what's really going on, because it's stemming from maybe baggage that I brought into this relationship in the first place, and filters and things like that. But she will never know what I'm really feeling or what I need if I don't know it, if I haven't studied it, if I can't voice it, and it goes right into conflict. And so for us to understand, okay, like there is a conflict, there's a trigger here, there's a button being pushed. What's a hot button he talked about tonight? And then going from, okay, this is a hot button, what am I actually feeling? And the Bible saying that it's okay to feel anger, it's okay to be frustrated, but that we don't need to sin in our anger. And shout out to Jesus here on this vlog, because the really important part of that verse was that it's Christ alone who can help us. It's not about just not being an angry person or not acting our anger, but actually allowing Christ to walk with us. The verse of that is, let us keep in step with the Spirit, right? If we stay in step with the Spirit, then we will not gratify the desires of the sinful nature. The sin in us wants to get angry and retaliate. And we all have different ways of retaliating. I am the shouter and the exploder, and Charity.
Imploder. Which means I stuff everything inside and then it just bubbles down there and I let it fester and I hold it in and I isolate, which is really good.
Super unhealthy on both.
Super unhealthy.
There's not one that's better than the other.
No. Yeah, it's not the best way to handle conflict or stress or anything. And I just wanted to share something that I learned because it was amazing. So many times when Clint and I, we get in an argument, it escalates so big. And I realized, man, why is it so big? How did we get from point A to point B? There's something else deeper going on. And I think, he can get mad, like he was saying about my phone, but, no, there's something deeper going on. What's the feeling attached to anger? And the feeling that he realizes wanted. He wants to be connected. He wants to feel wanted. And so if I'm on my phone, right, then I'm showing with my actions that he's not important. He's not wanted. And if that's one of his primary languages is to learn that he loves to be wanted, then I need to share it with him when I'm around him, not be on my phone, to make him feel wanted, right? And so I think one of the biggest things to remember is when we get into a big conflict or even an argument or a big fight in general, is to not deal with the fruit, deal with the root. Because when you go deep, then you actually find out the cause of what's going on and why they actually have so much emotion to one thing. Because I know when we get into a really big argument, I'm like, wow, you're so flustered, you're so angry right now. There's no way you're actually really angry about me grabbing your spoon from the ice cream bowl. It's there's something normally way bigger that has irritated you to that point.
Also, the other thing is that conflict is rooted in fear, which is crazy for us to understand what we fear. Because a lot of times when we fear something, we have two reactions, and that is to get angry or just to isolate. And so understanding that, okay, what are our fears and what are our needs in those moments?
And how you look,
live and love differently.